Hello and welcome back to the channel, everybody. Yes, so in this week's video it's going to be a continuation from last week. So last week we were talking about the different kind of pegs that you might come across when you go camping, and I had a lot of comments on different social media platforms around the screw-in type, and it does seem to be sort of a love-hate relationship with these, but I think there's a common mistake being made. So in this video I'm just going to explore that and show you how these should be set up, so hopefully these will be your go-to pegs in the future. So the screw-in type is there to help you, and obviously the purpose there is you use an impact driver, you screw that into place, and then when you go to leave the site at the end of the week, obviously you unscrew it and away you go. The saving there is obviously you're not having to wail around a rubber mallet, and then when you go to leave site, you're not having to use your awning or the straps, different lines to sort of pull on to try and loosen these up, which again can cause damage to the awning or the actual windbreaker. So again, it's just sort of, it is there to help you. However, a common mistake that I'm hearing and seeing is people are not releasing the top part of the actual screw and peg. Now the idea is obviously you hold that, screw it into place, away you go. However, if you would have seen in my last week's video, where they were brand new, I hadn't actually got around to setting these up for myself, and you would have seen this thing spinning around, and that's a common problem, that people will drive these into the ground, but when it gets towards sort of where your fingers are going to be and you're starting to add that sort of tension into the awning where you've pulled it out and the guide ropes, this is spinning around, and if you haven't got it set up right, it's either going to catch your finger, which will hurt if you're not careful, or it will catch one of the lines before it's actually got it into the place where you want it. So that's one of the issues you've got, but this top bit should be loose and should be able to sort of hold whilst you're driving that into the ground. But again, if you haven't, then that's where the accident can happen. So it's quite straightforward to do, and I'll show you that now. So not every screw peg will have this problem. You'll know because once you get hold of it, be careful, because when you hold this bit, obviously it can be quite sharp in places if you're not careful, but there should be some movement between the top that you can use your fingertips with. So if you can do that as soon as you get them out of the packet, great, you won't have this problem. However, if you're like me on these ones, and again it's quite common for that, they're like fused at the top. So if you haven't got this kind of movement, then obviously that's what you're going to need to free up to start with. Now there's a couple of ways you can do that. You can hold it with your fingers, put the actual bit that comes with the screw pegs in, hold it and spin it around. However, depending on how well these are fused, that could hurt your fingers as well. So if you really want to be safe in this space, the easiest way is just to use, I found, an adjustable spanner. You can then just hold it in place like that, get hold of it and spin it around, and then what you're looking for is just making sure that actually just moves freely, and then that way when you're holding the peg and you get to site, you can put it on and drive it in without any problems. Now here's one of the pegs that I don't have that is in place at this moment in time, and I can't move that around whatsoever. So again, I'll show you just on a live peg itself. And that's all you're waiting to hear, is that movement, and then once you've done that, you will actually have some movement there to free that up. And that's what you want to do for each one of these. Just go round, only takes a few minutes to do the whole pack, and just make sure you've got movement. That way, like I say, when you're drilling these in, you've got the actual purpose of these without actually breaking your fingers. Now my recommendation for when you're using these obviously would be an impact driver or a drill. If you're going to use the drill, just make sure it's on hammer mode, because like I say, it needs that impact setting to be able to drive these into the ground. If you don't and just use the normal drill function, when this hits a rock or something solid, this will just spin and not go anywhere, and again that will frustrate you. So yeah, you need to have hammer mode or impact mode to drive these into the ground. So as I stated at the beginning, I will drop a link to last week's video below, and that does cover all the different pegs that you're most likely to come across and my views on each one of those, so definitely worth checking out. Now the channel itself has lots of useful information on, so definitely worth exploring, because I'm sure there's bits in there that you'll find interesting. But something I did notice that actually a lot of you, over 90% of you that are watching the content and returning regularly, aren't actually subscribed. So again, a massive sort of an ask from me to you is to please consider subscribing and sharing the content with others. And again, if you've got any questions, obviously drop them below and I'll try my best to come back to you as soon as I can. But that's it for this week's video. Any questions, drop them below as I said, and I will catch you all on the next one. Cheers all.